These runs are genuinely really hard to put together. We're talking today about long runs that should seemingly be a walk in the park to collect, but just aren't. Due to a low print count, maybe a lack in demand at the time. We're not talking about golden age runs, which are hard to collect because the books are worth thousands of dollars. We're not talking about silver age collections, which are hard to collect because they're worth hundreds of dollars. We're talking about 90s, 80s, 2000s print runs that seem like they should be a lot easier to collect than they actually are. You know what? I should make a easiest collections to collect video. You guys will have to let me know if you're interested in that. Make sure you're commenting, like, and subscribe because we've got a 50,000 sub winner coming up. First one I'm going to mention on the list is Punisher. And you're going to see a trend on this list where the first half is pretty easy to obtain, whereas the second half is where it gets a little tough. Now you should know Punisher is one of the runs that's very devoid of keys. I can kind of think of really only a couple in a over 100 issue run. And sometimes I feel that runs that don't have a lot of key significance aren't often for sale or don't get a lot of attention. This one is one of them. So you might be okay getting the first 20, 30, 40, maybe 50 issues, but it's these final issues right around the issue $100 mark and higher where you're going to have the trouble. Next is going to be Saga. This is one of the ones on the list where the very beginning is the one that's hard to collect. You can get the recent issues for $2 to $3, maybe $4, pretty much anywhere. It's those first, I would say, 10 issues that are going to give you a real problem. We could maybe widen that and say it's actually the first 20 or 30 issues. It's one of these runs that got popular not right away. It hit the market, it got all these awards and reviews being how great it is, and then everybody obviously wanted a taste. And then there's talks about TV show adaptations. Obviously, people are going to jump on the train, but they jumped on the train too late. If you don't know, Saga #1 is pretty expensive. But the funny thing is, I actually do see Saga #1s. It's the 2 through 30 that I think is actually pretty tough. Because you got to remember, people like to pick up #1s. It's the people that stuck with it that have these copies. Not so easy for a very recent series. Next is going to be Darkhawk, which is actually one I just mentioned in a video talking about something we still don't have an omnibus of. There's no collected, in completion at least, versions of Darkhawk, which is really annoying because those last 10 issues are actually pretty famously pretty expensive. It will blow your mind what Key Collector and even eBay recent solds will do for these final 5 issues specifically. It gets pretty scarce, and actually I think there's a key in the midst of one of them, but it's not so easy. I'm sure with a little bit of patience you could probably pick up most of the run for the buck, but the buck stops here. See what I did there? Next is going to be one of the toughest ones on the whole list. Static, as in Static Shock, from Milestone Comics. So first appearance of Static. Most shops have this for anywhere from 20 to 50 bucks. And you can probably find 2, you can probably find 3, all the way up to the DC crossover stuff. So you're getting a decent halfway there without any problems. It's after, I'd say, issue 20 is when I guess everybody just fell off. There's an important thing you got to understand. In the mid-90s, the bubble absolutely popped. They told everybody their stuff was so valuable. Everybody and their dog and grandmother was buying this stuff, and it just popped. So a lot of people fell off of these runs in the slightly more later 90s. And for some reason, this is one of the ones that took a really bad hit. I guess it's one of the first to go in people's pull lists. Those last issues of Static go for like $40. It's crazy, man. Completionists probably aren't the biggest fan of Static. I got another one for you. Ghost Rider, the 90s run, the Danny Ketch. Again, one you're going to be able to find. It's not super cheap. It's like 20, 30 bucks. I guess that's cheap. Everything's relative, but whoosh, you can get decently far. I always find when I get collections in, I see this particular run, but it's usually not complete. There's a drop off right around that same 1996, 1997 thing that I told you about. Everybody seemed to just stop comics cold turkey, and some of these runs for even popular characters really got some low print counts. The last third of Ghost Rider is kind of a nightmare to collect. People always remind me that. You know, I found that out because I accidentally did have that stuff and I had it in my antique shop all for $1. And someone brought it to the counter and were like, this is insane. You probably should have looked these up. Next is going to be Simpsons. There's actually several runs in Simpsons that are tough to collect, but I'm not going to mention the tough comic book guy. I'm not going to mention the very difficult Radioactive Man. Those are little mini-series. We're talking about long series today, so let's just stick with the main Bongo line and maybe that Bart Simpson 100-issue line. Again, like so many of the ones on this list, you're going to be able to find those first issues. They may not be cheap, but you can actually find them. Some of these later issues, you can hop on eBay and they don't even have a result. That's how scarce some of this stuff is. By the end there, you definitely got some really low print counts. And frankly, I think Bart Simpson is even harder to collect than Simpsons. Me and my best friend, we've been hunting Simpsons comics for about 5 years together. I've been helping him out. And we were able to fill every single run. So he has a full run of Simpsons. That was very difficult. But it's this frickin' Bart Simpson run, man. That's tough. That's really tough. G.I. Joe. This is like the epitome of the dollar bin run. There is such a high print count of this up until the point when there's not. There's 155 issues, something like that. Those last 10, but specifically the last 5, can fetch up to $100 each. Now remember, I just said that this is a very dollar binny run. So the contrast is crazy. And would you look at that? What time period was it that this run fell off? Right around the time of that crazy 90s bubble popping. So I think kids' parents cut them off from comics or something, and that was the cutoff. Those final issues are really tough. Spawn. This is the weirdest one on the list because the beginning of Spawn is very easy to collect, and I would say like after issue 300 is very easy to collect. Most of those parts you're going to be able to find for honestly $1 or $2. They start creeping up and getting a little more expensive around 50 to like 120. And then right after then, you have a massive fall off. So I would say from the late 90s up until like 2014, maybe 2015, that pocket, the 150s through the 250s, good luck. It sucks trying to get them. I got a Spawn collection in a couple years ago and was blown away doing the research and just finding crazy values right in that middle pocket, man. Next is Betty or Betty and Veronica. I honestly and unfortunately I don't do the Archie stuff. It's kind of dollar bin stuff for me, which probably means that the 60s stuff is very hard to collect. There are so many Archie runs. We're going to talk specifically about the 90s stuff, the Betty and Veronica, because you think 90s, this stuff's very recent. I could probably still get my hands on it. Not really. A lot of that Betty and Veronica stuff has very low print counts. In addition to the 90s boom, it's not one of the big two. It's not Marvel, it's not DC. So already the print counts were pretty low. This is one of the ones on the list where even getting the first half of the issues are kind of tricky. So if you're a Archie fan, if you want a full run of Betty and Veronica, it might be one of those ones where you have to pick away over the course of like a decade. Hate to say it. Next is Something is Killing the Children. Very recent run here. And we could joke about all the many variants you can get and 18 billion printings. But if you're a completionist attempting to have first prints here, those first 10 issues are going to be a nightmare. They're out. You can totally buy them, but they're just so expensive. We've had another comic market crash, kind of similar to the 90s, and still Something is Killing the Children, #1, has crazy price tags. It's what the market can bear, and the market still finds that book to be very valuable. Now, there was a point, I want to say, at around like issue 16 all the way up, everybody jumped on board. So everybody's got copies of 16 on up. Not many people have the 1 through 16, specifically the 1 through 10. Next is going to be Bloodshot and Rye. So both of these are like near 50 issue runs from Valiant, where you can find those early issues in 50-cent bins at pretty much any flea market, yard sale, this, that. I mean, God, the print count must have been insanely high in the beginning. I don't know the actual numbers, but I find that stuff so much that I throw it in people's piles as just like a free padding. It's really common. And then it's not really common, especially Rye. Now, Rye print counts actually got pretty scarce even after issue like 3. So people grabbed that #1, but they weren't really continuing. So a full run of Rye is actually kind of a flex. Same with Bloodshot, but I think Rye is the more difficult one. Next is going to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Adventures. There's actually 2 volumes of this, one mini and then the one that everybody kind of knows. It's the long-running one. Many issues here, but you had a low print count the whole time. So it's not just even the back half of this that's so hard. It's really the beginning, the middle, and the end. The whole thing is tough. If you head to eBay and mycomicshop.com, you're going to find a lot of holes of issues that they just don't have. Strangely enough, this is also one of the runs that when I do get this stuff in, it's very poor condition. A lot of this stuff, especially the 90s, 2000 stuff, you're able to find, and when you get it, it's kind of near mint or maybe very fine. I don't know if they use bad paper or if just kids freaking loved this stuff, because the TMNT Adventure run, other than my one friend's very personal special collection, I don't think I've really come across any high-grade copies before. Second to last is Silver Surfer from the 90s. This is actually a run that does have a bunch of key significance. There's actually a lot of keys, almost like every 5 issue. They're tiny little keys, little $3, $4, $5 books, but it's worth mentioning. So like that pocket is collected. Then there's a drop-off. There's basically no key significance after issue 100. Also, that's the late 90s, so it matches up with the crazy drop-off from everyone at that time. So it's just a perfect storm of suddenly no key significance in a run that actually did have a lot of key significance, and lower print runs, and you're left with some books that are kind of hard to get, especially the very final issues. And they do say the final issue is about a $30 to $40 book alone. Fun fact, I've actually gotten a 9.8 of that final issue once. That was pretty cool. This one might not be as hard as some of the ones on this list, but it's worth mentioning. And I think the holy grail of hard books to collect, and I can say this confidently because I've been trying to get it for 20 plus years, is Sonic the Hedgehog. TMNT Adventures was with Archie Publications. So is Sonic. So you already know you're talking about something that's a low print count. It's got that unfortunate 90s effect where there's a drop-off after the first 20, 30 issues. And then the rest of it, I mean, it went to like 200 some issues. It went up very recently. Nowadays, IDW has rights to Sonic, and they do a comic series, which it's funny, for a Sonic guy, I really should be picking up that stuff. I don't have any of it. But I know Sonic collectors do find that to be obtainable. It's the Archie Sonic. It's just such a nightmare, man. I mean, like, no joke. The average book is like $5 to $10. if you can find it. I'll happily pay the $5 to $10 if you can find it. There's just so many copies that aren't on eBay, aren't on my comic shop. They aren't anywhere. So I would actually pay more to get them in. And all Sonic fans feel the same. But there's randomly also issues, especially if you have them in near mint, which is really tough with Sonic, that actually can do like $40 to $80. It's insane. And even though there's some books I want so bad and holes in my collection I have to fill, I can't justify dropping $80 on a non-key late 2000s Sonic book. I just can't do it. So I'm playing a little bit of the long game, trying not to blow the bank account on this stuff. And it's really hard, man. I have been collecting this since I was a kid, and I'm collecting it a lot more aggressively now, but it doesn't matter. It's still so tough. Still so tough. Anyway, drop down below the ones I missed. See you at the next video, and keep on hunting. Make sure to come on down to Sentiment Depot's Antiques and Collectibles, located at 238 West Delaware Ave in Pennington, New Jersey. Find so many great books for just $1 and the lowest prices on key comics around. Enjoy a huge selection of graded comics priced up to 20% lower than current fair market value. We are open from Wednesday to Sunday, closed Monday, Tuesday. You got a collection you want to sell? Bring that too. Can't wait to see you there.